why don't you tell us a little bit about the case, about the judge, and about being the first law firm, as far as I know, in the entire country to try a case during the pandemic by Zoom.
Yeah, so we were really fortunate to have Judge Bo Miller in the 190th, who was open to the idea and suggested it. The parties both thought it was a good idea because it was a bench trial, and he's a very, very good judge. We were trying a pretty discrete issue. This was a case like so many of ours. It's a property damage first party claims. Basically, our client had property damage to their home from a hailstorm in 2015. They made a claim. The claim was essentially denied and underpaid. He sent the case to an appraisal process, which is like a quasi arbitration type process to try and resolve the matter. That didn't fully resolve the case. There were still issues related to interest and attorney's fees that are owed. So those discrete issues, the interest and fees, were before the court and don't require a jury. So we were able to try that to the court in about 6 hours. The parties had told the court that it would take 2 hours. So little bit longer than expected. And I think not because it was done by Zoom, but because lawyers love to hear themselves talk. But it was surprisingly efficient and effective. And I've got some strong feelings about whether I like Zoom as an alternative. But in this environment, it was just a great way to get our client his day in court, and we're just really grateful to have a court that was open to it.
So how tell us, like, logistically and kind of practically how it worked, whether there were things that you thought went really well, maybe things that didn't go quite as well. Like, what advice would you have for other people, lawyers, judges that are interested in doing remote trials?
The way this worked was we provided the court all the exhibits electronically as PDFs, and so the court had all of those. And the court provided a Zoom link for everybody to log into at a designated time. And then there was a separate link for people to watch the proceedings. Court's proceedings are obviously intended to be open, and so the court was monitoring.
Really interesting. Yeah, nice.
So I am told that as many as 2,200 people watched some or all of the trial. The court basically went through, allowed the parties to make pretrial arguments, which we did. And that was all done by presenting documents through Zoom, sharing your screen. It was, I would recommend people figure out how to do that. Some of the lawyers, including myself, were not as adept at sharing the screen and sharing exhibits.
I was having a problem with that yesterday, John.
Yeah. So that was a little wonky. You might want to practice that before you start a trial.
Yeah.
But we would share the exhibits as we went throughout the trial, and during the examinations, you have the option of throwing the document up on the screen, and showing it to the witness. So you are kind of your own choreographer as a trial lawyer, which I kind of like. I can go to the document whenever I want, and kind of direct the audience very easily. I would tell people, turn off your alerts. I have various gadgets around me, and I'm an Apple user, so my texts are pinging through my laptop. Turn that off. I was annoying everybody, I think, throughout the proceedings until I figured out how to turn that off. It turned out it was just a very animated family group chat that I couldn't shut up. So one of the difficulties is examining witnesses and getting everything on the record cleanly. The court reporter several times stopped parties, more so than when you're in actual trial, because it's hard to know when someone is about to talk. Because you're all remote. And so people frequently would talk over one another, not intending to, but so that is challenging. You really need to wait for full stops, which makes examinations very difficult, particularly cross examinations. My direct examination of Daly was fine because we've done it so many times, and I
Yeah.
know what's going to come out of his mouth after 25 years of being his friend. But
Yeah.
uh, cross examinations are really much tougher
Yeah.
remotely, and I would tell people that you really need to keep it punchier um, and maybe a little cleaner and more organized. Otherwise, it can get really
Get out of hand.
it can get out of hand.
Yeah.
And I'm told, I had a discussion this morning with news reporter from Bloomberg, that more and more courts are warming to the idea of Zoom trials. Apparently, in Virginia federal court, there is a $500 million patent case
Yeah.
going to trial. It's a bench trial, and it's going to be done via Zoom as well. And so, in times like these where you don't have the option of going to court and being there in person, which I much prefer, this is just a great alternative, and it's great that judges are becoming more and more open to it.